Earlier this week, in a bombshell interview, GB News star Nigel Farage told the Politics Home website, "I'd be very surprised if I were not Conservative leader by 2026. Very surprised," he added. At the time, he said he was perfectly serious about aiming for the Tory leadership, but later he said he made the remark in jest. However, Nigel was a prominent fixture at the Tory party conference in Manchester this month, his first appearance since, I understand, the 80s. So if the Tories do collapse at the next election, is Nigel Farage the man to save the movement? And do the Conservatives now face an existential threat in a year's time? Well, with me in the studio to debate this is the jewel in the crown of Mark Dolan tonight, the wonderful Anne Widdecombe. Anne, can I just say how wonderful it is to see you in the flesh?
No, it's great to be here. Yeah.
And you're here for a memorial tomorrow. Do you enjoy coming into London?
I do enjoy coming to London, just so long as it's only about once a fortnight. Yeah.
And memories of your time in the House of Commons. Happy memories?
Very happy memories, yes. Indeed, I'll be in the House of Commons tomorrow because what I'm up here for is the unveiling of the plaque to David Amos, who was the MP who was murdered by a terrorist. Yeah.
Indeed. So, and actually you've used the word terrorist. Your reflections on what happened on the 7th of October in Israel?
Well, it was a terrorist attack. There is no other word for it. It was unprovoked. It was aimed very specifically at civilians and at the weakest sort of civilians, babies, old folk. It can't go unanswered. And that is what I say, whatever Israel does, this cannot go unanswered. And the other thing is to accept that in war, think of Dresden, think of Hiroshima, and they were deliberate. That wasn't a mistake on one side or the other and a misfire. They were quite deliberate.
Churchill decided to flatten Dresden, essentially.
He decided to flatten Dresden, and he flattened Dresden. Obama-Harris flattened Dresden. But the point I'm making is this: you always get, sadly, and it is sad, you always get civilian casualties in war. There are going to be civilian casualties in this war, but it is a just war.
Indeed. Are there parallels with the Troubles in Northern Ireland? Clearly not the scale, but you were in the House of Commons when IRA terrorism was a daily issue in this country, and of course the bomb, the Brighton bomb in 1983.
I missed the Brighton bomb by 20 minutes. I missed the Harrods bomb by 3/4 of an hour. It was a daily hazard. If you were in the capital, it was a daily hazard. If you were involved in politics,
people were checking under their cars.
It was a daily hazard. Yeah, I didn't check under my car, but I was supposed to. But of course, Ian Gow didn't check under his car, and he was blown up by the IRA. Shortly before I fought my very first ever parliamentary campaign, Erin Eve was blown up by the IRA. It was, if you like, an occupational hazard of being a politician. So yes, it was very grim, but not on this scale. They killed children, they killed old folk, they killed horses for that matter, but not on quite this scale.
Indeed. In the aftermath of the 7th of October, which, as you rightly say, was a terror attack, people were waving Palestinian flags. Now, I've got no problem with Palestinians wanting to improve their lot, possible two-state solution, all the rest of it. It could be that Israel has a case to answer for its behaviour in the Middle East. But this was very inappropriate timing. What do you think, for example, yesterday on the streets of London, crowds chanting for a jihad, which is a holy war, in the United Kingdom, in London?
It is not something that should be overlooked. It should be very carefully policed. I hope that it was being noted by the intelligence services who was there, because that is actually glorifying terrorism in the UK. Now, some of those people will have been born here. Some will have come here as first-generation immigrants. But whatever the case, the UK is where they are, and it's the UK's values which must prevail, and the UK's values do not include jihad.
Nigel Farage said, pointed out that the fact that was being chanted yesterday, and he said this country is in serious trouble. Is he right?
Oh, I think he's right, because I think we're in serious trouble on all sorts of fronts. And this was, the Hamas attack on Israel was a massive failure of intelligence, a bit like 9/11 was in Afghanistan, in New York. We do need to be very, very alert. The threat is there.
Indeed, indeed. Well, look, I've mentioned Nigel. Let's talk now about British politics and the Conservatives and the right of politics in this country. How badly could the Tories perform next year? Well, what's the worst case scenario, do you think?
They could perform very badly indeed. I don't know. I think it's exaggerating it to say that what happened in Canada a few years ago could be, replicated and that they'd be down to a couple of MPs. I don't think that is at all likely, but they can be very severely thrashed at the polls. And unless they come up with something between now and then, they're going to be.
That's not going to happen, though, is it? Rishi Sunak has laid out his stall.
Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt, between them, cannot understand what is happening. They are focused on the figures. They are terrified of spending an extra pound here, an extra pound there. They'd let schools fall apart before they actually got round to spending the money. And that is what they're focused on. The bigger vision is not there. In my column on Wednesday, very distinguished, very good column in the Express every Wednesday.
Always readable, correct?
Always readable. In that column, I have said that what Rishi Sunak and indeed Jeremy Hunt both lack is fire in their belly. They've got no vision. They've got no ambition for Britain.
OK, well, look, let's talk about what happens after the election. They're likely to lose it. If they're eviscerated, they will need a game changer, won't they? I can't see anyone currently in the party on those backbenches who would move the dial, or anyone in the shadow cabinet, to be quite honest with you. So could the game-changing figure be Nigel Farage?
All I can say is, when people ask me, could Farage lead the Tories, is they should be so lucky. They should be so lucky as to have Nigel Farage. No, I believe him when he said he made the comment in jest. Too much has been made of the fact that he was at party conference. He was there, dash it, on a press pass from this most distinguished news station. That's why he was there. People from The Guardian were there. Doesn't mean that they're sympathetic to the Tories. They've got a professional job to do.
Well, let's talk about the party that you now support, and it's Reform UK. You spoke brilliantly at their conference a couple of weekends ago. They didn't get many votes last week, but those votes were significant, likely depriving the Tories of both of those seats in 2 by-elections. Well,
the fact is that in both by-elections, Reform UK got more votes than the Conservatives lost to Labour by.
Right, exactly
that is
right.
just a fact of life. So
they had a quite significant influential impact. Are you concerned that could happen on a national scale? Because I know you want Reform UK to do well, but you also don't want a Labour government. So you're betwixt and between, aren't you?
Frankly, we've got a Labour government now. We have 2 parties in this country. One's pink and the other's pale pink. There isn't actually...
Flamingo, isn't it? Rose?
There isn't actually a Conservative party in this country. And when people say to me, you'll cause the Conservatives to lose, I say, what Conservatives? This is a Conservative government. We've got record levels of taxation, record levels of crime and disorder, record levels of immigration. And this is a Conservative government, and I'm supposed to be worried about getting them out?
Now, I do get a lot of emails from viewers who admire Richard Tice. They all admire you, by the way.
Well, I doubt that. Yeah.
And lots of people who are politically homeless say that I'll be voting Reform UK, and that could be quite a large constituency. What is the long-term plan for the party? Is Reform UK seeking to replace the Conservatives as the main party of the right, or are they looking for proportional representation?
The party has a policy of proportional representation. It's no great secret that I don't share that, but I share
You believe in strong government, don't you?
I believe in first past the post, because the litmus test of any democracy, the litmus test, can you dismiss an unsatisfactory government? Most systems of proportional representation throw up coalitions. Now, you try sacking a coalition, it just breaks up and reforms.
We also don't have a great track record with hung parliaments and coalition government, do we?
No. Think of the Brexit, Conservative and Lib Dem coalition that Cameron was so proud of. Now, actually, I think they were right to go into coalition, because although we forget now, the country was in the most terrible state economically. I don't think the markets would have stood it if there'd been another 6 months of going nowhere and then another general election. So I think they were right to go into coalition, but they didn't do anything wonderful with it.
What do you anticipate will happen under a Labour government? I mean, I've been asking this for a few days now. Could there be something refreshing about a change at the top, something cleansing perhaps for the country?
No, if you're looking for
catharsis.
No, if you're looking for catharsis, or if you're looking to be refreshed, I wouldn't be looking at Keir Starmer, who is about the stalest mortal around. He is. He also, I mean, he's got no vision. He changes his mind every 2 seconds, and really does change his mind on just about every important announcement he makes. So you don't know where he's going either. I mean, the quality of our politicians at the moment is abysmal, right across the House, and in both houses, for that matter, in the Lords as well.
What do you put that down to? I mean, I would have thought you would blame perhaps David Cameron in the Tory party for some of the changes he made to how candidates are selected to run for Parliament.
I think both the Labour Party,
box ticking, wasn't it?
Who implemented box ticking, who implemented all women shortlists, and the Conservative Party, who had the A-list and a rule that you had to have equal numbers of men and women on the shortlists, they were putting identity before merit. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care whether an MP is black, white, gay, straight, male, female, old, young, as long as that MP has real, serious merit. And they don't.
Now, the problem when you come on is that my viewers, they just lament the fact that this is what they're missing. Right? When you speak about politics, it's like an episode of Bullseye. Come on, have a look at what you could have won. But you're out of politics now. You're out of government. But you make a huge contribution to this programme and across GB News and elsewhere as well. And you're really the highlight when we have you on the show. You're not just a great commentator, a great friend as well.
I'm enjoying all this.
Well, there you go.
Keep
well,
going.
That's it. And you can say what you think, can't you?
Oh, I can do that.
She won't be cancelled. Not on my watch. Well, listen, Anne will be interested by the results of our text poll. If the Tories collapse at the next election, is Farage the man to bring them back to victory? Well, 65.4% say yes, whilst 34.6% say no. I think that's a referendum not on Nigel, but on the brand of the Conservative Party that even Nigel can't save them, for many of you.